Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, or evening, or wherever it is that you're logging in from. I hope you all are having a great day of trading, or at least staying conscious during during these crazy moves. Holy crap! It just dies and then goes nuts again. What a wild day! What a nightmare day! Yeah, it's nuts. Looking at the NASDAQ overall, I mean, obviously the big thing is that we are controlling a major zone of support down here. This is where swing longs were pile driving it like crazy all the way back up for a big V-bottom reversal. And with that gigantic V-bottom reversal, it went screaming all the way up to the top, way further than I thought it was going to go. I mean, I thought this thing was going to go like maybe up to like, you know, the 50s, maybe the 60s. I wasn't expecting it to go to 660. That was 100 extra points that I wasn't necessarily looking for. What a ripper. So the NASDAQ went screaming up to the highs, and now we're dealing with this little bit of kind of a flag, pennant, wedge, whatever you want to call this thing. I don't know. Kind of choppy, sloppy, pretty gross. Volume also very light. If we're looking at the bigger kind of moves, I mean, from a 1 minute perspective at least, everything is just straight up. There's been no pullbacks. It just continues to kind of get stuck around this area. Let's see here. All right. And just as a side note, out of curiosity, how is the stream quality? Does it look all right? I know yesterday we were having some issues with graininess and it looking pretty gross, but I messed with some settings. Yeah, it's good. Okay, cool. That was the hope. It just flagged a warning, which is why I asked. It said something was wrong with the output or something. I don't know. Fine, cool. Awesome. Thank you. So as far as the market's going, I mean, realistically, there's not much. I mean, it's slow. It's slow. We're waiting, doing a lot of it, and just kind of hanging out. You got chopped up for the second day in a row. Today was, I mean, were you on the S&P or are you looking at the NASDAQ? Because I know the S&P for the first little bit today, just put me out of my misery. The S&P this morning was horrible. NQ, the open was gross. Yeah, that was pretty. Wait, you mean that 40-point wick? No. Yeah, I feel you, man. I feel you. Hopefully it wasn't too bad. And maybe this afternoon we can maybe get things back on track again, if it wants to move. Got 27 minutes. I can't speak to save my life. 27 minutes until the end of the day. All right. Sellers are trying to get some pressure to the downside, but I mean, realistically, there's nothing happening. It's just sideways. Where's the S&P? Maybe it can give some, maybe it can offer up some scalping opportunities here. I don't think the 1 minute, given the lack of volatility, I don't think the 1 minute's going to do anything on the NASDAQ this afternoon. So I'm going to cover that up with a 5 minute ES and see if it can give something over here. Maybe I'm just being hopeful. I mean, looking at the overall market perspective across the board, we've got, I mean, holy cow, these indexes just went ballistic. But gold, mostly sideways, just kind of grinding around, choppy, sloppy, not much going on there. Did catch a nice pop up to the 1879s, but now it's just sort of sideways. Crude oil, smack in the middle, nothing going on there. Euro's been pinging off a support all morning. And Bitcoin, just bouncing off support there as well. 18,700 is kind of back again. The big issue with Bitcoin is just stuck inside that massive 15-minute bar and just can't get out of it. Getting a little bit of downside movement here. Now, NASDAQ buyers will be looking to fade the lows of this range realistically, given the amount of upside movement. But the bigger zone of interest, it's going to be a little bit further down. I mean, there's a lot more interest around the 626.50s. Where this is now is just kind of, ugh. And the POC is way down at 563.25. I'm going to guess, just throwing it out there, but I'm going to guess that there are a lot of shorts who are underwater today. And their average is probably around 563.25. Maybe a little bit further up. So if the market can get a pullback going into the end of the day, this is the time. If it's going to get a flush pullback, this is the perfect timing for it. S&P had a V top and now another trap on the highs. It's not looking good for the S&P. Markets are only up like 0.25%, not much. I'm going to flip the spacing though. I care a lot less about the S&P today. So major zone of support, if we can get a little bit of a flush down, the zone of interest is going to be in like the 27s. I mean, all the way down to 19. There's a lot of support down there. For the S&P, this whole thing's a train wreck. If it's going to get a rotation down, I mean, we should see at least an equal-sized blow-off from the top to the bottom. So, I mean, realistically, a logical zone of interest would be like 95.25. Now, obviously, the big issue here is the risk. The risk is like 70 ticks on the S&P. God, I'm not a huge fan of that. I might just skip that one and see if we can get some other scalps instead. That's gross. Still mostly sideways. I would like to see a quick little flush on the S&P down to find some buyers down there at the 95.25. That would be the equidistant move from the top to the bottom. Outside of that, though, NASDAQ's just kind of hovering around the lows. What about stocks? Are stocks moving at all? CRIS was the big one today, right? That thing like 350% or something? Jeez. It found balance up there too. It closed yesterday at like $1.44, and now it's trading at $6.54. Whoo, lordy. What about Apple? How about something with like some substance to it, not just a penny pump and dump? Apple pretty sideways up here too. Amazon kind of looks like a wedge. It's more of a flag on the NASDAQ. Man, if the buyers don't take it soon, though, it's going to be game over. At least for a little while. Slide back down to the 25s. YouTube screen is not sharp. Gotcha. Yeah, it's loading this error for me saying that my video resolution, I must have accidentally set my output to a different resolution because it is some crazy number that I've never seen a monitor support ever. So I'm guessing that I probably fat fingered some keys in the settings there. I'll have to go back and adjust them. But hopefully it's better than yesterday at least. Yesterday morning or yesterday afternoon when we first started was a mess. Sellers still trying to roll this trap over. Buyers failing off the highs. Progressive lower highs, lower lows on the NASDAQ. S&P's got double bottoms. This daily is so bullish. Open gaps all over the place. And all-time highs. That helps. S&P's trying to get into the lows. Still interested, but more around the 95s. NASDAQ, I want to see a flush down to like 25, and I want to see it do it relatively quick. I've got to have the volatility on my side for that. Little kind of, I mean, it sort of looks like they're trying to get a wedge going. Maybe I'm just blurring my eyes too much. Buyers on the S&P will likely be coming in at 99.25, 99, all the way down. Realistically, just with a trap on the highs and then another follow-through trap, right? That secondary one on the top, that makes me nervous. I don't want to buy right at the bottom looking for a bounce because there's too much open-ended risk, especially if the bottom of this falls out. There's nothing to catch the market anymore. So it's a little bit more aggressive around the 95 quarters, and it's got to bounce pretty quick. Buyers are trying to get that pop back up again. We've got an aggressive rotation back up, and I mean, realistically, there may be buyers trying to get that up. On the NASDAQ, it did have that quick couple tick trap low and then rotated back up again. Problem is we're not making higher highs, higher lows, none of that. Starting to get a little bit of a flush now. Now we're getting the quick little snapback here on the NASDAQ. Well, never mind. There it goes. Ay, ay, ay. I said it was just starting. Not time for takeoff yet. Jeez. All right, well, buyers just rocket ship that thing to the upside. Quick little snapback to like the 39s. I could definitely see buyers being interested in a quick pullback to the 39s again. All right, finally getting a little bit of a washout pullback here. I want to see the buyers push this back up towards 40 and break above it. That was the big zone that caused a lot of trouble. 40 quarters breaking above. Now it's got to follow through with a bit more oomph. There we go. Keep on going. All right, I'm out. I didn't want to follow through. My first entry was a little bit gross. The second entry was a bit better on that deeper washout. Of course, there it goes. That's fair enough. I didn't stay in that one very long at all. That washout made me, I mean, granted, I wanted that flush down to 25, but it just wasn't. And when it did, it pulled back so little. I didn't really want to hit too hard. And then sure enough, as soon as I get out, oh man, every time. See if the NASDAQ can get a slightly better pullback this time around. The last one was pretty sloppy. I'd like to see them try to challenge the 40s again, but maybe a little cleaner this time. They might not pull back. Buyers are off to the races. They're trying to break a new high. Okay, we haven't hit the channel highs yet. Back into the 41s, 40s. That's the zone of interest for buyers to hit again. This is forcing traders to buy very high. This is a tough spot to want to be a buyer. For longer than a scalp, at least. All right, 40s, come on. Back to the 40s again. Nice little dip. See if they can get this to bounce back out of here again. Longs are in off of that bounce. Now it's just a matter of seeing if it wants to finish the job back up or if this is going to end up as a big trap. Next zone of interest is down in the 39s. And if it wants to dip lower, 36s are after that. And then 34s. I'm willing to give this a little bit of space, knowing the time of day and the amount of volatility that's coming in here. It makes sense to see this kind of back and forth choppy gross. 42, if we can get a push up into the 40, maybe 43s. 43s would be a little bit better. All right, there's the first objective off. Relatively small on that first one. Secondary, I'm looking for a bit more. I'd like to see it try to climb up to like the 48 halves. That would be a really nice spot. This thing's having a heck of a time doing it, though. Tested break even at 39 and bounced back up again. Very quick response. So that would indicate, or at least suggest, that there were a lot of stops there. 36s are next into this area. All right, there we go. Nice little dip back into the 36s. Upside objectives back to the 40s. That's the big zone of interest. Every time the market messes around with 40s, that's where it has all of that back and forth. All right, first target off. Now get some legs, NASDAQ. Go. No. Wrong way. Rotten pecker, go the other way. All right, I'm going to jump ship on that one too. Ugh. Scalp City. Hello? Wow. What was that volatility? Got everyone out, right? That was the goal. Strong bull bar, traps underneath that bear 5-minute bar, and now raging to the upside. A lot of buyers who got long way up at the top might be utilizing this opportunity to get out of break even. So don't fall into the longs too quickly, or, you know, this is an area where I'd rather be a little bit cautious, is what I'm trying to say. Dip underneath the 41s, maybe back to those 40s. There we go. And then 39s again. It's all the same areas. It's just a matter of seeing whether or not they can follow through and finish this job. Come on, NASDAQ, get back above the 40s again. Big whippy dippy move back down again. Still have 3.5 minutes left on this candle, so there's still plenty of time. All right, a little bit of a washout stop run underneath the bottom. Another washout stop run below the bottom. I'm going to give it a bit more time before going too nuts, though. 35 is a nice zone of interest, but I've got to be careful with the average. Trying to get that rotation back up, but the buyers don't want to show up to the party yet. Deep pullback, and there's still a huge amount of support down here. Really, it's just a matter of seeing if we can get a jump back up to like the 30. I mean, really. I would like to see if we can get a pop back up to, I mean, at least like the 39.50s. Not getting that continuation, though, so I'm going to jump out of a couple of them here. I'm not willing to hold on to the risk with it failing to get that rotation. They might be looking for a deeper move down. And if it wants to rotate up and go screaming higher, then that's fine too. Cool. But I'm not willing to hold the risk if it's going to break down here. Next big zone of interest is going to be back down in the 30s, which is why I lightened so aggressively. Go Bulls. All right, starting to look a little bit better. Got to climb up back towards those tops, though. A little bit of a lower high and a quick snap pullback, and a lot of volume came on that dip. That might be more of a pullback for buyers, trying to maintain this higher low action they've got going on here. Sellers are massively trapped underneath that most recent bear bar, but there's no proof of that trap until there's a bull bar back up again. There we go, buyers. Start charging up to those 43s, 44s. That's the big zone. We're back to the 40s again, so I've got to get through here. Getting the feeling that the S&P isn't going to give me that dip, so I'll get out of that. Or, well, I wasn't in it, but I'll cancel those. All right, big flush back. This could very easily be a break-even pullback, which is what I'm looking at. Taking a slightly more aggressive stance on this dip. Whoa. All right. I have to play some limit orders out here just to make sure that it fills, huh? Sheesh. All right, 5 minutes until we start moving into the end of the morning. Got to see the buyers push back up again. They failed the last attempt on the 40s, so I really need them to show up to the party here. I'm going to start reducing a little bit around this this slightly positive area because there's a lot of headache up here. Yeah, you can see everyone did the same thing. All right, one more. Volatility's freaking crazy. Buyers have a shot. They got to get through 40s, though. The last time they hit 40s, it was a failure. This is their chance to shine. One minute until 58. 58 is when things go nuts. Earlier sellers that got stuck underneath that really nasty bear bar were given a chance to get out of break even. Plenty of chances to get out of break even. Now it's the bulls' turn. It's volatile, but at the same time, it's barely moving. It's stuck in a... Yeah, seriously, it's a weird mix, isn't it? It's like hyper volatile, but then it just dies. It just goes, takes a nap. Got to rest up for the next one. All right, a little bit of time until we hit 58. 5 seconds. This is when things go a little bit crazy. Still just kind of chugging along, not really doing much of anything. Buyers trying to get a continuation breakaway move to the upside. The big question is, are they going to stick the landing or fall apart? Looks like fall apart. I'm going to jump ship. See if we can get a washout back down to like the 32s. That's the big zone of interest where everybody seems to be picking it back up again. Ooh, big rotation back up. Ooh. Okay. First pullback dip. Buyers will be looking to come in on this move for a continuation play. Like to see a jump above the 35.50s, maybe up to like the 37 pluses if possible. All right, out with just a quick scalp. Getting down to the wire. We've only got 20 seconds left, and I'm not going to try to hold on to it through all that. Of course, my average is the freaking resistance at 40, yeah. Once it gets through there, though, I mean, once it gets through 40, it's clear sailing. It's just got to like, finish the job, you know? All right, well, I'm not willing to put anything else on the table. This is a little bit too crazy for me. But overall, I mean, a pretty good day. I'm not going to complain. We had some good volatility. We had some bad volatility. It was a bit gross. It was a bit good. A little bit of everything. So hopefully you all had a great day of trading, though. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email, jhb@ssftg.com. Enjoy, rest up, and we will see you all tomorrow.